Hello, and welcome to our episode of Don't Mess with the Mamas. That's MOMMAS, with our motto, You are the protagonist, not the victim of your destiny. Today, we are talking about what we call woven together, that we are all interrelated. And many people don't quite grasp that, but it's true. There's a concept called dependent origination that really explains how we are all so interconnected. And we've heard this many times in the past. A ripple in a pond can affect an ocean, etc., etc. And one important phrase that we use in our SGI Buddhist practice, and it's applicable to not our practice, but to life itself, is the change in the destiny of a single human being can affect a change in a family, a community, and ultimately all humankind. And we've had many examples from history. And I'm going to give a bit of a funny example, if you don't mind. One day I was really depressed. It was my 30th birthday, and I felt lonely. And I was in the subway and walking to my next subway stop. And from a distance, I saw a gentleman stooped over, homeless, and he looked like he was drunk. And I was a little bit nervous about passing him. This is a true story. When I passed him, he looked up for a few seconds and said, "Happy birthday." That is bizarre as it sounds. I never forgot that. And that gentleman impacted my life in such a way. Now, who would expect somebody who I had no connection with whatsoever, a homeless person, being able to really encourage my life? And we are all worthy of respect, and we have that connection. And something I would do with my students at the beginning of class is we would all hold hands, and I had what's called an energy stick. And we would hold on to the energy stick, and it would buzz away. As soon as somebody broke the chain, the energy stick would stop, showing that energy is constantly passing among all of us. So I think that that's kind of an introduction to how we are all woven together. And, you know, if you pull on one thread, and I'm sure many of you have had this experience of unraveling some clothes or sweater or whatever it is, you pull one thread, it just keeps on unraveling, or the opposite, when you pull on one thread. So I really want to hear what you feel, Johnny, about this concept of we're all woven together. And I know you're certainly a proponent of this belief.
Well, Elena, this is a topic that I've really given a lot of thought to because I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about the concept of woven together. And so upon reviewing the meaning of it and how you've explained it, I definitely believe in it wholeheartedly. And the biological fact of it is that we are all humans, and all humans share 99.9% of the same DNA. So we are more alike than we are different. And so we are each one, as you brought up about the thread and the tapestry, we are all a thread, but we are in the same tapestry.
Absolutely. Did you want to add anything, or?
One other aspect of what you said in your initial introduction is the other thing about the concept of karma.
Right.
And so just as you shared that experience of that particular person saying something kind to you, it influenced your day. As you know, in our practice, we believe in cause and effect, which is karma. and that whenever a cause is made, the effect is already there. And so, if we think of it that way, when we treat another person in any particular way, we're actually treating ourselves, because that same treatment is going to come right back to us.
Yes, absolutely. I love what you said, treating others as we want to be treated. And it may not always work out, but that's okay eventually over time, because things take, sometimes we're very impatient to see change. I know I am. Whenever anybody says thanks for your patience, I look at them and say, I'm not a patient person at all. So you don't have to thank me for that, because I'm not patient. But, even if we don't see the effect right away, just treating other people with respect, you'll eventually get that same respect, or maybe right away, however it works. And, a lot of times, as we spoke about in the past, with the self-reflecting mirror, we tend to look outside of ourselves, externally, expecting the other person to behave in a way that we're not behaving at all, instead of looking inside of our own selves, instead of reflecting inside. And I think feeling the pain of others is really important, not to be in pain all the time, of course. And I know when I was teaching, I would cry every day with my students, and they thought, really, Miss Black, what's with you? You cry all the time, because I just felt so much empathy with their lives and their struggles, because lots of young people today have so many struggles that we're not even aware of. Foundation for empathy. And it links to dependent origination. So, understanding dependent origination fosters a deep sense of empathy, as harming others, just as you said, Johnny, is seen as ultimately harming oneself, and helping others is a form of self-support. So, when we recognize our interconnectedness, it compels us to consider the impact of our actions on others and the planet, promoting a sense of shared responsibility for creating a peaceful and sustainable world. And finally, I wanted to share about this inner transformation. Internalizing the truth of dependent origination leads to an expansion of the ego-bound self toward a greater, more compassionate self, fostering transformation in both individuals and society. So, when people talk about happiness, that's happiness. And we talked in the past about fortune versus money, that the fortune we create in our lives is due to how we live our lives and how much we appreciate. I don't care how much money, how much power, how much status you have. It's all about appreciating and valuing your life and the lives of others. That's what it means to be human. That's why we're here on earth. When a baby is born, and you spoke in the last episode about how you connect to babies, and we believe that, life is eternal. So that baby has been around for lifetime after lifetime, and you're just connecting with them now for this lifetime. But life is the most precious treasure. All the treasures of the universe don't compare to life itself. And when you see a baby, you're not saying, oh, I just want you to make as much money as possible. I want you to have all this power. You want that baby to be happy and healthy. And along the way, we lose those. Not saying that we shouldn't be successful in society. Absolutely. We should be goal-driven. We should achieve everything we want to. But never, never, ever at the expense of others. That's a distortion of humanity, and anybody who does that has no clue what it means to be human. Again, I don't care how much power, money, whatever you have no clue about what it means to live as a happy human being. So, sorry to get on my soapbox, but back to you. What would you like to say about empathy, especially in today's times?
Yes, I'd like to talk about that, but before I do, I would just like to say some more about what you just shared, because that got me really excited about the whole connectedness, that we are wired for connection. And so we are as one human family, if we look at ourselves as being a part of that family, then I think it's easier to do the things and appreciate our lives and the life of others, because we are all one family,
Yes.
one human family. And now about empathy. And the definition, I guess, of empathy is something that I learned, I guess, probably at college, because I was only aware of the concept of sympathy.
Ah,
And then I was guided to learn the difference. That sympathy is, I believe, when you feel sorry that something has happened to somebody or their condition or whatever it is. But when you're empathic, empath, empathy is when you actually feel it as if it is happening to you. And so your response to it is different from, oh, I'm sorry, something has happened, you've lost a loved one or whatever. But when you are expressing empathy, you actually feel what that person is feeling, and you're connecting on a different level. Do you have an understanding of that might be able to help others understand it better? Because I'm not sure if I'm explaining that
no, I
to
think
the fullest.
you did explain it perfectly. I really do believe so. And even as you said, we are wired biologically. We are wired. We have something called mirror neurons. So when we see somebody else, we can reflect on our own selves, because we're, as you said, we're all human. We're all not only human, we're all living beings. So I even connect to my little pug, and we have a lot of, if she has a pain, I'll feel her pain. So sympathy is, I don't think that sympathy, you're really looking at that person as an equal. I don't know if I'm even saying that correctly, but empathy is just looking at the humanity in yourself and others, and really considering their struggles as if they're your own. So I think, yes, you did definitely explain that perfectly, and I love that you reverted, back to your college days and where you really learned that. Do you want to speak more about that, or?
Well, what I would like to add and bring to the conversation, and you probably read about this as well, that recently, at least it's recent to me, that scientists are now saying how trees are connected.
Yes.
And that we see a forest and we're thinking, there's a forest of trees, but we are just now discovering that those trees are interconnected, their roots underneath, and they are actually communicating.
Yes.
They are sharing.
Yes.
They are finding out what one tree needs,
Yes.
that they have excess of, and they're sharing it to that tree, and that tree is sending it to another tree or saving it up. It's like, that is really interesting and mind-boggling, and hopefully it will help us as humans, because we think we are at the top of the chain.
Absolutely.
That if the plants and the trees are living as woven together as a community and survival and thriving, and if one is in good shape, then we want all to be in good shape, then that is fantastic.
I love that you brought that up. But yes, we are discovering more and more how all parts of nature show this level of empathy and care, even though it's not conscious. Or is it? I don't know. Maybe all living things have consciousness. Science is really discovering so much more every single moment of every single day. And absolutely, I loved reading about that too, that yeah, if one tree is needing water, that other tree or the system of trees will support. So if trees could do it, humans can't, really? I don't think we're so on top of the chain if we can't do what trees are doing. Yes, that's perfect. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, to continue on that
Yes.
analogy, it's the fact that we give off carbon dioxide and the trees give off oxygen,
Yes.
and how we need each other.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
need our carbon dioxide, and we definitely need their oxygen. And
Yes.
so, again, as you said, all living things, we're interconnected.
Yes.
And it's about, I love the way you always talk about the appreciation of our lives, and therefore extending that appreciation to every other aspect of
Yes,
life.
absolutely. To really respect ourselves, respect our surroundings. So, with that, I think that's kind of a wrap up, yeah, Johnny? Lots
Yes.
of points, 6 points, because, we had a lot to say, I think, this time. First, the concept of dependent origination, that we are all interconnected. Whether you believe it or not, sorry, it's true. It's true. It's true. And we are all humans. As Johnny said, we share 99.9% of our DNA. The concept of cause and effect. How we treat others is the way we want to be treated. So if you treat others with respect, you'll have that in your life. Not all the time, because everybody is unique and different, and we may not see that change right away, but definitely cause and effect is always existing. Whether you believe it or not, it exists. The importance of having empathy, and Johnny distinguished between sympathy versus empathy, and we are hardwired for connection, and that beautiful example of, all of nature is wired for that connectivity. So there you have it, to give you some encouraging words. Here we go. All beings and phenomena exist or occur because of their relationship with other beings and phenomena, and nothing in either the human or the non-human world exists in isolation. All things are mutually related to and interdependent with all other things. They all form a great cosmos maintaining the rhythms of life. There you have it. Once again, we are Don't Mess with the Mamas, MOMMAS, and just Google us. We're easy to find. But if you really have a tough time, you can just type in Don't Mess with the Mamas, all one word, .libsyn, L-I-B as in boy, S-Y-N as in Nancy, .com. You can also easily find us on Spotify and on Apple Music. And we would love, love, love to connect with you, hear from you. Our email is mamas, MOMMAS, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and have a glorious, interconnected, interwoven day. Bye-bye.
Bye.